I do have some questions on reprogramming, but I'm just going to make a, and when we talked in December, I said I'd like to have someone come in and brief me and talk to me about this, and I've been available, and I guess maybe we can finally do it now that I have a map in my hand for the first time. But I just want to make one comment before I go to the question that I want to get to, and I'm just, being from one of the Great Lakes states, knowing how the governors from the Great Lakes work together, know how all the water districts work together up there, and the tribes work together under the Great Lakes region, I am baffled a little bit by this draft map breaking up the Great Lakes the way it does, but we can get into that in more detail later. Talk about direct spending and reprogramming. Congress has provided significant increases to the department in the fiscal year 2018 bill. And a statement that accompanies the bill provides direction on how the department is supposed to spend the money. So I'd like you to comment on the way that you're going to adhere to the directives and the explanatory statement. And will you ensure that appropriate programs receive the funding levels that have been congressionally directed? We've also included extensive direction about reprogramming requirements, stated our intention to include the bill language in fiscal year 2019. Are you familiar as to date of what these requirements are, and will you commit to working with the committee to develop language in order to avoid any barriers to implementation?
Well, and I follow the law, and we had a conversation about a grant process, and I have a stack of IG reports on my desk about grants, and the intent of Congress should be followed on distribution of grants. But I also have an obligation to make sure when the grants are given that we follow up that money was actually spent delivering on congressional intent, and we follow up on it. In a lot of cases, we have not followed up on grants, as well as the grant process. There was kind of some deep and very concerning conflicts of interest with how grants were awarded, and I'll share the IG reports. So we've changed the process. The other thing on grants, particularly with the climate change grants that we talked about, is they are not asking for the grants until we get funded. So what we needed to do, and we've taken the process of pre-clearing those, so when they get funding, those grants can be actually executed. So what was occurring is the grants were not being submitted to the headquarters until we had funding, and then all of a sudden, you know, the process, everything was being held up. So we've reversed that trend. If they're pre-approved and in the priority of the congressional intent, then we should be able to get them out. It's not my job to dismantle congressional intent. It's my job to execute congressional intent. And if we have any questions, that's where a dialogue comes back and forth. Also, I might mention about Bears Ears. I'm a geologist. I can assure you that oil and gas in Bears Ears was not part of my decision matrix. A geologist will tell you there is little, if any, oil and gas, and there's no proposal that I've seen to mine uranium in the former area of Bears Ears. And the geology is clear on that. So I won't go into line by line of some of the other comments.